I think almost every Dragon Ball fan will agree that one of the most iconic moments in the entire franchise is the first Super Saiyan transformation. It happened when Frieza killed Krillin, Goku's best friend, which triggered an overwhelming rage in Goku and unleashed the Super Saiyan transformation. They want to repeat that formula in Dragon Ball Daima, and it seems we'll witness the death of another one of Goku's friends in this anime. In this video, I'm going to explain why this death of one of Goku's companions will happen and who it might be. Stay connected in the channel and let's go to the video. So far, Dragon Ball Daima is shaping up to be a lighter, more child-friendly story, focusing on adventure, a light-hearted plot, and comedy, without much drama or violence. When we look at Dragon Ball Daima's plot, it strongly reminds us of the early arcs of classic Dragon Ball and the beginning of Dragon Ball GT. And it's precisely because Dragon Ball Daima draws so much inspiration from these stories that we shouldn't fall into the trap of thinking the anime's plot will be entirely made up of silly situations. On the contrary, Dragon Ball Daima will definitely have its serious moments, and now we can be absolutely sure of this based on the new information. The first arc of classic Dragon Ball was entirely focused on the search for the Dragon Balls, with Goku and Bulma starting their quest and making new friends and enemies along the way, experiencing an adventure filled with comedy and fun situations. In fact, martial arts weren't even a central theme in the beginning of Dragon Ball. That theme only gained prominence in the following arc, the martial arts tournament. Over time, the martial arts theme became increasingly central, reaching its first peak in the King Piccolo arc, where the battles started to reach a whole new level of power. The King Piccolo arc must have been the most important one for the franchise's history, since it set the new standard that Dragon Ball would follow. This standard was maintained in the final arc of classic Dragon Ball and throughout Dragon Ball Z, with the franchise now focusing on more serious stories and increasingly powerful battles. When Dragon Ball GT came around, it brought back the same adventure premise from the early days of Dragon Ball, but also incorporated the powerful battle standards from the end of Classic and Z. One thing that was also very present in Classic Dragon Ball, Z and GT was violence. Who doesn't remember Goku punching through King Piccolo's body in Classic Dragon Ball, Krillin being blown up by Frieza in Z, or the one-star dragon almost impaling Vegeta in GT? Of course, nowadays, the violence in Dragon Ball has been toned down, especially in the Dragon Ball Super anime. But we still get some intense scenes, like Goku's death at Hit's hands or Trunks slicing Zamasu in half. I think it's fair to say that Dragon Ball Daima is like a new Dragon Ball GT, but with the censorship of the Super era. Naturally, this reduces the story's dramatic and violent weight, making it feel more child-friendly. Still, even in Dragon Ball Super, we see some of these elements. What I mean by this is that we can't be fooled. Even though Dragon Ball Daima has a more kid-friendly tone, it's still a Dragon Ball story, written by Akira Toriyama, who also wrote classic Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z. And when we talk about Akira, we can't forget that he's not afraid to kill off a character to advance the plot. Of course, keeping the character dead is another story, right? We're going to see a death in Dragon Ball Daima. This much we know now. Will this death remain? Probably not, but it will happen. Before I continue and explain things in more detail, I just want to ask you to quickly leave a like on the video and subscribe to the channel. It helps a lot, guys, so don't forget, okay? Anyway, let's continue. Dragon Ball Daima currently features a fairly large main theme. In this theme, we have the original characters of this anime: Pansy, Glorio, Hybis, and now Niva. But we also have older characters: Goku, Vegeta, Piccolo, Shin, and Bulma. Among these characters, if we think about it, one of the most important should be Piccolo, since Namekians are getting a lot of focus in this anime. However, so far, Piccolo hasn't had any significant role in the plot. If we really think about it, based on what we've seen in the anime so far, Piccolo doesn't even need to be in the Demon Realm. He hasn't been important in any fights or the overall plot up to now. It seems like the only reason Piccolo is there is because he's a Namekian. And since Namekians originate from this realm, Piccolo tagged along. Piccolo's situation isn't like Shin's, who is important to the plot, both as a source of information and because of his relationships with some of the villains, Degezu and Arinsu. Piccolo feels a bit out of place in the story, which is strange, since as the main Namekian of the series, he should add more emotional depth to this adventure, or at least have some relevance. But this should change quickly, because now that Piccolo has met Niva and even had his father mentioned as someone Niva knew, we're likely going to see better development of Piccolo's roots in this realm. This could potentially culminate in his death in some way. Piccolo could be killed in a confrontation with Niva himself if Niva becomes a villain, or Piccolo could sacrifice himself to protect Niva since he greatly respects the elder Namekian, who is a true living legend to his people. Piccolo's death would have a major impact on the group, especially on Goku, as they've become good friends over time. However, another character who's receiving a lot of focus in this adventure is Vegeta, who has even shown a new transformation in this anime. A potential death of Vegeta would be a major blow to everyone, especially Goku, since their relationship has improved a lot and they've become great comrades, even though they're rivals. One thing we need to remember is that even though we're now used to seeing Goku and Vegeta as close companions in Dragon Ball Super, Dragon Ball Daima takes place before the events of Super. The last chronological relationship we've seen between them is in the Majin Buu saga, where they weren't as close. In other words, in Dragon Ball Daima, this camaraderie between Goku and Vegeta is still in its early stages. So, a potential death for Vegeta could be particularly interesting to create that initial emotional impact on Goku, as he's just starting to develop this camaraderie with his rival. Besides, as the second strongest in the group, Vegeta is the one who will end up in the most dangerous battles alongside Goku. Since he's already demonstrated superior power in the fight against Tamagami number 2, it's clear that his upcoming challenges will be pretty intense, which increases the likelihood of his death. Actually, Vegeta might not be the one to die, but rather someone important to him, which could push him to evolve even further in this anime. Thinking about it, Bulma hasn't had much of a role in the demon realm so far. Have you noticed that? Bulma doesn't have much utility in this adventure. Even the ship they're using wasn't built or repaired by her, and she doesn't know anything about demon realm technology. On top of that, Pansy already understands the machines of the demon realm, so there's no need for Bulma's expertise in this area. In other words, Bulma hasn't contributed much to the adventure yet. Perhaps Bulma's most significant contribution could be her death, which would enrage Vegeta and push him to evolve his powers even further. We saw that the transformation Vegeta used, though everyone's calling it Super Saiyan 3, doesn't seem like a typical Super Saiyan 3, which might mean it's an incomplete form. So maybe, with Bulma's death, we could see Vegeta achieve the complete Super Saiyan 3, the standard form we all know. Another character with potential to die is Glorio. As a pseudo-traitor in the group who likely has some noble motive behind his questionable actions, he's bound to go through a redemption arc that could culminate in sacrifice. Glorio's death could have an intriguing impact on the story, and since he's an original Daima character, it might make sense for something like this to happen to him. An interesting comparison is to Vegeta's death in DBZ. In DBZ, Vegeta's death after being introduced as a villain and later evolving into an anti-hero was a pivotal moment. It helped Goku fully grasp how tyrannical Frieza was and the extent of the oppressive system he commanded. Vegeta was a clear victim of this oppression, and seeing this resonated deeply with the audience. In Daima, Glorio could serve a similar purpose, clearly showcasing the oppression happening in the demon realm, especially for the people of the third world, revealing him as a pseudo-villain who later dies asking Goku to liberate the demon realm from oppression could be a powerful and impactful moment. However, here's an interesting twist. This potential death might not be a real death. Maybe a character could seem to die, only for us to discover later that they didn't actually die, like what happened with Gohan in the Majin Buu saga. This way, Vegeta, Piccolo, or Bulma could appear to die, causing the desired emotional reactions in the other characters, but reappear alive later. That's an intriguing idea too. Now tell me, who do you think would be the most interesting character to die in Dragon Ball Daima? Would it be better for Piccolo to die? Vegeta? Bulma? Glorio? Someone else? Comment below with your thoughts. If you haven't subscribed to the Hakai channel yet, hit that subscribe button now and turn on notifications so you don't miss any of the channel's upcoming content. Leave a like on the video to help boost its reach here on the platform. And share this video with a friend who's also enjoying Dragon Ball Daima. A big hug to all of you and see you in the next video.